Hello. Welcome to the Filmmakers 412 podcast. I'm your host, Michael Ray. Today's interview is with Cliffton Crumbles. Clifton is a director and filmmaker here in Pittsburgh, and he really enjoys the horror genre. It's a fun interview. Clifton's a great guy, so here we go with the interview with Clifton Crumbles. Cliff, thanks for stopping by today.
Thank you for inviting me today. This is really cool. This is like my first podcast.
Oh yeah, You could be discovered off that because we just took your headshot, and I'm pretty sure you're going to be discovered as a model. Like I told you, I was joking with you, but like I could get you jobs as a model. Honest to God.
That's great. That's great.
You might be typecast as like the villain, but I think we could do it.
You know, I'm normally on the other side of the camera. I'm normally the cameraman director. I don't like being on the actor model side, but hey, you never know.
Hey, make the big bucks that way.
Yeah.
So tell us about how you got into filmmaking.
Well, first off, there's kind of like 2 points. There's 3 points of my life when it comes to filmmaking. The very first point of my life was whenever I was like in grammar school. I was getting in a lot of trouble. I was getting suspended from school like literally every day. I would go to
bad
school.
Boy, huh?
Yeah, get in a fight. So I'm the youngest out of two boys, and I'm the bad one out of the two boys. So I was getting in trouble like every day, getting fights, getting sent home from school. And then one day I got sent home. My dad, instead of punishing me, he had rented Aliens from the video store, and he said, "Son, watch this movie with me." I had no idea what movie I was.
That was your
about to
punishment? He has punished you by like letting you watch television?
I think he just got tired of like real punishment, and he was about to watch the movie, and he's like, "Hey, just watch this movie with me, son." And I was like, "Sure." And when I watched Aliens, I saw one of the most amazing movies of my life. I was like, wow. And ever since that day, I said, I would like to create something like that. I would like to build a world with characters, make them entertaining, and make the story a roller coaster. Because the movie's like a roller coaster to me. You know, it's one of the most amazing movies I've ever seen. I always wanted to be a filmmaker from that day.
Wow.
I was never...
How old were you?
I mean, I was young.
Ballpark.
86. Probably about somewhere around 10.
Wow.
Yeah. So when I turned 30, I told myself I was going to start actually making movies. And people don't understand film. It takes time. Film cannot happen overnight. Like, unless you have a great teacher and you have a lot of money behind you, it cannot happen overnight. Even then, still, it can't happen because there's a lot to teach people. And
so you don't have any education in film?
Zero education.
Well, I do sound, and I'm 100% taught by YouTube. That's like where I learned everything I know about sound.
Well, I went to Film 1. I got a D, and they told me, take Film 1 again. And I was like, this isn't for me.
What did they cover in Film 1? I'm curious.
Film 1 was mostly like covering a film camera, not a video camera, not digital, like an actual film camera. And I'm not good with like schooling. I used to have a very short attention span, like sitting there when you put a bunch of words and pictures in front of me.
You were ADD before they knew what ADD was.
Before they knew what it was.
Right.
Like they didn't have medication back in my day. Medication is not a good thing. You had to learn how to teach yourself to be disciplined and get out of it, you know. And eventually that happened with me. I wanted film so much. I kind of educated myself to be a little bit more disciplined and, you know, get out of that being that ADD thing.
So between 10 and 30, did you play with film at all? Did you do any try to movies or anything?
I had an interest in it. I was an extra in a few films.
Really?
Yeah, like way in the background somewhere. Probably didn't even see me in the background. But that's about it. Like, I was after graduating from high school, I was into rap. I rapped a little. I was okay. It wasn't really bad. I'm sure I was better than most of the rappers we have today. Cause
So tell me about your, like, what was your first steps into filmmaking? Like you were 30 years old. What was your first step?
At the age of 30, I did what most people would do and you shouldn't do, is basically grab a camera and just hit record without any education. So I tried to shoot what I think was right. And of course I was wrong because I didn't know anything about lighting. I didn't know how to direct the talent. Over time, I started realizing what I was doing wrong, and I started getting better. Eventually, I met a friend. His name is Benzie. He was a special effects artist, and he showed me how much I wasn't doing. Like, as far as he was a hard worker, and I was watching just the way he'd done a lot of things, and I was learning a lot about film. That's like, wow, you have to really work hard to do this. And when he was teaching me these things, I was just pretty much watching how he would go about doing his effects and things. I was like, I still think I can do this, but there's a lot of work involved. And that's the reason why, whenever I do a lot of my films, I do a lot of my own props, because just watching him, what he does, I mean, when it comes to effects and props and all that, he's legit. Like, he's really, really good.
So what's your favorite genre? I mean, you're a horror sci-fi kind of guy, right?
I'm a horror sci-fi kind of guy. The perfect mix I love. Like Event Horizon. I like Aliens more than Alien, but Alien has more of a sci-fi horror than Aliens. Aliens, once you go to the second movie, it becomes more action. But yeah, I like that perfect mix,
Have you ever tried to do like drama or comedy? Have you ever even like ventured in that direction?
I mean, old school comedies, you can't beat them, Beverly Hills Cop.
What about you though? Have you tried?
No,
to do that?
I like it. I have a movie for old like a comedy, one of my older scripts. I just like monsters and spaceships too much, man.
Huh. It's funny. I guess Jesse Hutchins is one of the first people I've worked with, but so his name comes up more than it should. So Jesse, if you're listening, hi. But anyways, like I remember first couple of times I've met him, like that sort of came up in subject. I said, what do you like shooting best? And he said horror. I like to shoot horror. And then he did something that was a little more, emotional, and it's like he's really changed from loving horror. I mean, he still probably likes it, but it's gone more, to the drama side. And I don't know, it's kind of interesting to see that. So maybe you should give it a try sometime.
Yeah, well, Jesse and a lot of other filmmakers that we have here in Western Pennsylvania, they do a variety of genres. Me, the reason why I don't really focus on a variety is because I like to do what I love more so than give variety. Like I would love people to be happy with my work, and I love to make people happy, but I just I love spaceships and monsters. Dark comedies I have a few of those. I have a short film that I just finished.
What's the name of it?
Return to Him. That's sort of, it's horror, but it sort of has like kind of like a little bit of a dark comedy in it, and I enjoy that one. So I kind of can lean towards comedy a little bit. Romance, not my thing.
No. You're not a Hallmark kind of guy. Not unless somebody gets stabbed at the end.
Dude, throw some Gremlins in a Hallmark movie and I'll love it. But
yeah, I just can't see that. So how many movies have you done?
Well, I've done a lot of short films. I haven't finished a feature film yet. I have at least close to a dozen short films under my belt. I have one documentary, haunted house documentary, of course. I lost a camera on that documentary.
That's crazy.
Yeah, the ghost destroyed my camera. Believe it or not.
I don't believe it.
It's a crazy story, but you know, I mean, not everyone believes in ghosts, and I can say, my camera reacted very weird in this one room, and it just pretty much took my camera out. And then that was the room where the girl who's the ghost, where she got killed by her brother, shot. So there's a lot of energy in that room.
I guess all bad, huh?
Well, I mean, her brother shot her, his 2 kids.
Where was this? North side?
No, north side. No, it was in I think it's considered like Brownsville, PA.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know where that is.
Yeah.
Huh. So tell me a funny story.
I have a few. So funny as far as, I'm sorry.
Well, just tell me a funny story that, like, you know, we all have things that have happened to us, and you know, we look back and we think, oh, that was hilarious, you know, or you know, it's just something entertaining, something that the listeners might enjoy, pertaining to film. I don't want to hear about you and your girlfriend or anything. Okay.
Well, I had one from film school. Probably the reason why I got the D.
Where did you go to film school?
I went to Pittsburgh Filmmakers.
Okay.
1 semester. Like I said, I got a D and I was done.
Do they still have that program?
D for done. No. Pittsburgh Filmmakers is no longer there. The building's actually empty.
Huh.
Which is a pretty good place. Like the building, how it's structured and everything as a school, and there's like a little theater in there and everything. So during my semester at Pittsburgh Filmmakers, I was shooting a short film. I got all of my friends, and they did a really good job acting. And we were there, and we were just shooting all these really cool shots, and it was so much fun. And I was like, oh man, yeah, I mean, this is really cool. This is what I thought filmmaking should be. And I mean, we put in at least 2 hours of shooting, and then we're going through this action film. So we got all these like fighting scenes and different things in this little takes that we were doing. And then we get to one point, and then I realize I don't remember putting the film in the camera.
Yeah, well, I've been there. I could tell you some stories about.
So I'm like, hey guys, look, and I hit this switch and it opened, and there was no film in here.
Well, if you would have hit the switch and it opened and you would have exposed all the film, you'd be in the same situation. So, yeah, I mean, I think as a photographer, like if you're old enough, everybody's done that. That's why, actually, just earlier we were shooting your headshot, which looked out pretty good, by the way. I'm telling you. Anyways, it used to be where that happened every once in a while. I mean, everybody's done it. You know, so that's the first thing I do now. If I get a new camera, I told you,
yeah,
that's the first setting I change. It won't let me take a picture unless there's a chip in there. So,
well, I thought most digital cameras now they do that. Unless you have your card, you can't take a picture.
Well, it's a
right?
preference, and
Really?
and it comes well, my cameras. You know.
Oh yeah, it's
Nikon
your
stuff.
cameras.
So the camera comes out of the box, and it let me do it, and that's the first thing I changed.
Wow, that's awesome.
So, have you been members of crews for other people?
Actually, funny thing is a lot of other. Have I been a member of?
Yeah,
other,
have
no,
you been on other crews?
No, I've mostly just have done most of my own stuff. You know, because I have a day job and film is fun time for me. It's playtime in a professional way. The last thing I want to do really is kind of be on other people's sets doing their movie, because it's like I said, I have a certain thing I like to do, and that's monsters and spaceships. That's sci-fi and horror. So, I mean, from the gate, if you're not making a sci-fi or horror movie, it's not going to really interest me.
But aren't you concerned that you're missing out on some of the
I've helped
craft of film?
I've helped people before. I help people out. but on a consistent basis, no.
Well, yeah. I'm just saying that like one of the best ways to learn, like in commercial photography, I'm a commercial photographer, but I've always admired people that are freelance assistants because they would work for me for a couple of days and they'd learn some of my tricks. And then I'd go to my competitor and they'd work for him for a couple of days and they'd learn his tricks.
Well, sometimes, I'm sorry, I mean, cut you off, but sometimes when I have time, my friend Aaron Moore, a lot of times I would help out on his sets and I would learn a lot of things from him. He knows a lot about filmmaking. So
yeah, and it's not even those things where you say, okay, teach me this. It's going to be like, I can't believe you did that. I wouldn't even have thought to do it that way. It's one of those things. So that's where I think it's really interesting to work with a bunch of different people like I am now, just to see which methods I like. So if I become an official, filmmaker myself, like I would be able to, the 20 different people that I've worked with, I could kind of see what they did and, see what I like, what I don't like, stuff like that. So yeah, I think that's very valuable.
that's the funny thing about you. I'm shocked that you're not already starting it yet because I feel like your lighting is amazing. And I mean, you're a photographer, so I'm sure you'll be able to line up shots pretty good. Other than I don't know how good of a director you'll be, but I've never seen you try to direct a film. But I think it's something that you should at least have one short film of your own and try it out and see how it works.
Actually, I did make one short film and it really sucked. But it was I've talked about this on podcasts before, but I did a film at the beach with my niece as the main actor and her friend is like the supporting actress, and it turned out pretty badly. But I mean, it doesn't suck too bad, but it sucks pretty bad.
But I feel like we all have to start somewhere. So you already know the things that you didn't like about it, and then when you move on to your next film, those things that you didn't like about your first film, not to make those same mistakes. So maybe your second film might be a lot better.
I just don't have the filmmaking passion. I don't know. I think I would be very good, actually. I think I'd be very good. It's just that, I don't know. Life's getting short, and I don't know if I want to go in that direction. I mean, what I don't think I like about it is I don't think I like getting all the moving parts moving at the same time. Like getting actors to show up at a certain time. I mean, it's like if I was there and the crew was there, I think everything would be great.
That's all part of the sweat and the heartache, man. You're going to have to deal with that no matter what. I mean, you deal with it as a photographer. You run into those problems.
Well, yeah, and that's one of the reasons I am a photographer and I do things the way I do. Like I've never had an assistant, a full-time assistant. I would hire a freelance assistant. But if I had to hire, if I had to hire a sound guy and then a couple of PAs and the actors, there's 3 actors. Like we're shooting this film with Michelle Du right now, and it's like we can't get it done. It's Zane's film. We can't get it done because he can't get the whole crew and cast there at the same time. And it's like,
see, sometimes when it comes to films, me and Christina Chickus is writing a feature film, and we have a very small cast in this feature. We have very limited locations in this feature film. And that could be a good thing because you have to deal with less. You have to deal with less people that you got to get in order. Like sometimes you'll have a location and you find out later a location did not work for you, and you have to deal with less of that. So when you're doing your first few short films, you don't want to have a big cast. You have to write harder and better. You have to take little and kind of make the best you can out of less people and less locations, and it helps you control your film better.
Oh yeah, I've talked to people and they're talking about this idea they have. It's a great idea, and you need, okay, it happens at a police station, and then we go into a courtroom, and it's like,
it's a lot.
Where do you get those locations?
Yeah, that's a lot.
You just can't swing that stuff.
Yeah.
You have to limit. It's like a 48. When you're doing a 48 hour, it's like first thing you have to do is know what your assets are. You have to know who your actors are, what locations you have access to. So when you write the film, you can write it all around that stuff.
I'm not a fan of the 48 and how it's done
Have you
because
done
I
one?
feel like it's done too fast. But I've seen some people with that short amount of time do wonderful short films. It's amazing what some people are able to do in that short bit of time.
I agree. It's a certain challenge, but I think personally, I'm kind of getting beyond that. I'm kind of getting to the point where it's like, yeah, this is a lot of fun. The 48's fun, and I'll do them in the future. I'm actually not going to work this one because I'm going to be in Utah. I had to back out of this.
Sundance?
No, actually Zion. But I like the 48s, but I want to work on something that makes it the Sundance. Like I don't want to compromise on lighting, sound, acting. I want to I've done like 65 films now. That's how many films, and a bunch of not documentaries, but commercial stuff. I do commercial films and stuff. But I want something that is like, I want a Silence of the Lambs. I want something that is going to be iconic down through time.
A masterpiece.
I want a masterpiece. And I don't want it to be mine necessarily. I don't want to be the director or whatever. I just want to have worked on it, and I want it to be part of it.
But that's all part of taking your time with film.
Right.
Exactly. No one said to have a film and you take forever to finish it. No, what I'm trying to say is film has too many elements for you to be rushing it. You have to deal with the writing, the lighting, the sound, the cinematography, the directing. There's just way too many things to get in order to sit there and try to get something done in 48 hours. And that's my only thing with the 48-hour film festival. The reason why I feel like it's not for me. The crews that do the 48-hour film festivals, they enjoy it and they love it and they have fun doing it. And I think that's awesome. But for me personally, I feel like if you're going to do something that's more like a quicker preparation, maybe a month, I think works better. It gives these people time to kind of get things together, write something and make something that's more put together, like what you're saying. That could be the next Silence of the Lambs,
and that's something you can do both. You know what I mean? But there's that one weekend where there's almost 40 teams competing, and there's something to be said for that. It's fun. I enjoy it, and we've done some kind of nice stuff that way, and it's nice to see what everybody else did, and it's like. Another thing about that is really advantageous about that is you get to meet people. You get to you go to the premiere or whatever, and you and you get to see what these people are doing. There was I think 38 teams in the last 48. There was a lot. So
I do go to the screenings of the 48 because I have to be there to support fellow filmmakers and my friends. That is number one for me, is support all my fellow filmmakers and friends. So I am there.
I try to make it when I can, especially for my time, I want to see how it looked, but it's different than regular filmmaking for me. It's fun. Whereas on the rest of these films, like if I like having a good time, don't get me wrong, when I'm doing the films, but I want to do something great. That's my goal. I want to do something great. And, you can never make a great 48. You could do a really nice one, don't get me wrong, but everything has to click. And there's a lot of luck involved. There's a lot of luck. There are times when people I worked on a 48 probably 2 years ago, something like that. It was with my buddy next door, Alan. And I thought our film was going to win. I thought, damn, this is good. This is a good film. And we won something like Best Diversity or something like it was kind of like, I was like, it was during COVID. I was ready to step in front of the camera, when they were zooming it. I was ready to step in front of the camera and accept best sound design. Like I was ready to accept it. And it's like, it's like, I was so disappointed. But, so it takes a lot of luck, and you never know. There could be some great competition that just blows you out of the water and stuff. But I was really disappointed that year. But I don't know. It's fun. I'll continue to do the 48. I think it's a good time. But the nice thing about it is you get to see what the other locals are doing. Okay, so like, what Marlowe? You know Marlowe?
Yes.
Okay, like I saw Zane's film that year, and I saw this actress Marlowe, and I thought, man, she's great. I mean, it worked out really well. I was really
Yeah,
impressed.
I saw the same film. Yeah.
Yeah, it was like she was like floating through this house kind of stuff. And I thought her performance was great. I thought she was beautiful, all that. It's funny is like a year later, I'm working on a film with Zane, and like it was out by the airport, the Allegheny County Airport. So there's like 5 or 6 of us, part of the staff. We're all walking out to this location. We had to walk probably 800 yards. It was
Wow.
like we parking lots here, and you have to go out. But
I have a location. Actually, I have a location from the parking lot. It's a mile
yeah, it's a pain.
that you have to walk
If
to
you're
the
carrying
shooting
cameras
location.
and
I have wagons for that, but yeah.
yeah. But anyways, so we're walking out there, and there's this girl beside me, and it's like, that's Marla, that's the girl that was in it. Like, so I told her how much I enjoyed it and stuff. But it's so the point I was trying to make is you get to meet other people.
Yes.
You get to, like, you have this base of people when you first start into this.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the first couple of film, you know 10 people.
Yes.
And then you keep working on other films, and it expands. But that's a nice way. The 48s are a nice way to really supercharge that expanding thing, because you can be at the premiere, and like you'll see that film and say, wow, it's really cool. And so you can walk over to that director and you can say, hey, I loved your film. If you need a sound guy or a lighting guy or whatever, keep me in mind next time. So, I mean, that's good. Another great thing is, those, and I think it's Steel Coast sponsors these a lot of times, and maybe the 48 too, but it's those nights at the bar. Steeltown, right? I'm sorry.
Okay.
Steel
Yeah.
Coast.
I just wanted to make sure, because it could be another.
Actually, that's
Steel
an
Coast.
agency I work with every once in a while.
What, Steel Coast?
Yeah, it's they used to be on the south side.
Oh, okay.
But anyway, that's how I messed it up. Well, that's what I'm blaming it on. It's like early onset. But anyways, like, so those meetings at the bars where you can just get up and you can say, hey, I'm new here or whatever.
They don't have enough of those, man. They haven't had one in a while.
Yeah, well, COVID kind of tapped that down.
Why can't we bring it back, dude?
You can. I think you should.
I'm trying. I got one coming. Seriously.
Really?
Yeah.
Cool.
I just got to get things set up for it, but I definitely got one coming. And I got a couple of friends up in like Columbus, so I'm going to try to get like my Ohio friends down here, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. Okay, so I wanted to ask you a question, and I'm
Real quick, I didn't want to cut you off. I wanted you to finish saying what you were saying about the 48. I wanted to go back and just real quick touch on a few things about the 48. I completely agree with you about the 48. Like we're eye to eye on the 48. I think it's fun. I think you can meet a lot of people, and that whole thing that you said. And the other thing I want to touch on that you said that I totally agree with is the one thing about the 48, you're going to fall short somewhere. And that's my only problem with it. Trying to get it in that little bit of time, you're going to have to cut back on something. And I just wanted to.
Oh, yeah, that's definitely an argument against it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, okay, you're here with me today.
Yeah.
Okay, if this was 48 weekend, you'd be working. You'd be shooting. You know what I mean? So it's just this, annual. They have the horror 48 too.
Yeah.
And so it's just like one weekend a year that you wouldn't normally be doing anything probably.
Yeah.
That you can do something.
Yes, I totally agree. Yeah.
So it's just another chance to get out there.
The good and bad about it. Yeah.
Yeah. And I agree with you. I wish you didn't have to cut so many corners, and the whole time thing is crazy too, because on the film that I said I liked, that I thought we were going to win, which we didn't win, I'm bummed. But anyways, my buddy next door here, Al, he was doing the editing, right?
Yeah.
And he just underestimated the time it would take to to get the thing done right at the end. What's it called? Like when it has to, it takes
Post.
long. Well, not post. I mean, the post actually he's really good at, but resolve or what's
the editing program.
Well, when you get done and like you say, okay, print, or whatever, and it takes forever to compile.
Oh, the rendering.
Right.
Yes.
That shows you why it probably won't be.
Yeah, the thing is, I think is sometimes rendering can take so long if your computer is not strong enough. I used to have that problem.
Yeah. Well, he hit the render button at like, we figured, okay, it's going to take 20 minutes to get there because we had to go to Carlo. Well, we figured it'd take 20 minutes to render or whatever. So he hit, we had a good pad of 20 minutes, right? Something like that. Anyways, he hit the button for render and like it said rendering 1 hour. And it's like, oh, fuck. We put in all this time and it wasn't going to render. And we just gave up. I mean, it's like we did all this work for nothing. And then all of a sudden it was like, zoot, it was done. And it's like, we like jumped in the car. We literally from here to Carlo or wherever that place was. It's normally like 15-minute ride.
Yeah,
it was a 7-minute ride. Like
I'm glad y'all didn't get any tickets.
Seriously,
because once you get pulled over, that whole thing just stops.
It's gone. Well, we thought it was gone anyways. But we broke so many laws. I mean, we were going through red lights. We were going through stop signs.
Maybe we shouldn't have this on audio.
Yeah, I guess it's too late.
No, they can't prove it.
But it was, I mean, and then we got there, we had 2 minutes left. We were the last people who did it. But it was pretty crazy.
Those are the most like awesome stories though, when you can tell those stories, like how those stories actually make good movies. When you when you can tell those stories, man, they're wonderful. And like I said, dude, I understand the 48-hour film festival. I think it's great for a lot of these film guys. It's just for me personally, it's not for me, but it's great. It's something great for our Western Pennsylvania community, Western PA and Pittsburgh. But it's just me personally, and it's the reasons why you said, just cutting too many corners, and hitting render buttons and getting an hour, and then you gotta like break the law to get to.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, there's it gives you an opportunity to work on your craft.
It does
under pressure.
Yes.
And that's there's something to be said for that.
Yes.
And
it's a good training exercise, definitely.
Yeah, it really is. And it's fun. I mean, it's fun. I mean, I don't know how much fun it is for the editor, like when he only has so much time. But I'll tell you one thing we did on the time after that. Like the one that was the one we did. The year before, somehow it took Al next door who does the editing. It took him like 4 hours to sync up the film, and it was driving him crazy. But on this last one, we used time code, and it took him 30 seconds to sync it. And it's like night and day. It just worked out so well. He was able to. What was nice about the last time we did the 48 is we had a couple of hours where he and I just tweaked it. Okay, like we just tweaked it. Like we changed the color, exposure, like.
Wow.
Normally you just let it go. Like, it's like you don't have enough time to dick with this.
Sounds like you're way more involved than you try to portray yourself here.
Oh yeah. Well,
Mr.
we were
Filmmaker.
Well, what was nice? Well, I mean, a photographer knows contrast, knows, I'm a sound guy, so we were tweaking the sound.
Yes.
I mean, we put a lot of time into post.
That's
and
awesome.
it was polished. It was pretty polished.
Great.
I mean, there's always something, like you do a shot and like there's a slight focus problem. It's like you didn't know it at the time. There's no redos, because it's
those are the worst, dude. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Oh, they're tough sometimes.
Yeah, he was. That's another story. I don't want to get into that. But this is kind of cool. So let me ask you this.
Mm-hmm.
If you had to give a new filmmaker, somebody that was interested in, like not when you're 10 years old, but when say you're 21 years old and you're just getting out of college and you want to become a filmmaker, give me 5 pieces of advice that you could give someone that would make them a better filmmaker.
Well, there's 5 things that I can say. I don't know which one I would like to start on first, but I can tell you the one I think a lot of people don't want to hear. because a lot of people don't like doing this. It's one of the hardest things for people to do. I can tell you this. When I was working on my project Deadlands, and I had a contract for all the actors and the production crew to sign, only one actor out of is probably about 20 people. One actor actually read my contract before he signed it. One person.
And what, you own his firstborn child? Is that what it is?
No, I own their firstborn child. He's the one who declined the firstborn. No, but that's the thing is like nobody reads. Like, and that's the one thing I can say when it comes to filmmakers, you need to read more. You need to read. You need to read scripts. You need to read contracts. I mean, if you're a filmmaker and you make a script, although you made your script, you need to read your own script. Read it over a couple of times, because if you don't read your own script, how do you know if your script is where you want it to be? How do you know if it's how you want it to be unless you read over it and kind of fix some things that need to be fixed in your script?
Well, most screenwriters, I mean, they'll rewrite their script 50 times. Mm-hmm. You know, it's like, okay, yeah, that doesn't sound right. It's like, let's add this, or, you know.
But outside of their own script, I mean, how often do these people read? And I'm just curious. And that's the thing is, you know, that's one of the things is people need to read more. And that's filmmakers. You need to read more. Read to research a lot of things.
There's actually a site, I think it's a YouTube site, where they will have a scene. Mm-hmm. On the top half of the frame, and on the bottom half of the frame, they'll scroll the original script to famous movies. It's really fascinating because you can see where the actors, you know, sort of deviated from the script, and it's like, yeah, that worked. You know, that was worth doing. Like, but that was, I don't know what the name of that YouTube channel is, but it's worth, you know, reading big scripts. You can get them for nothing too. I mean, there's websites.
Yeah, I've seen like Hollywood scripts online, like The Wizard of Oz and a lot of different things. But yeah, it's definitely good. Reading is definitely a good tool. Another thing is, I think filmmakers should learn more about film and how film is done. Like, there's filmmakers I know from here, they don't want to learn about cameras and how they operate. But you want to make a movie, and the problem that you run into is sometimes what you think how things work, they don't work that way, you know, because you have different type of cameras, and some cameras, they take up more space whenever you put them in your editing, and sometimes, like, if you don't understand how cameras work, you might have a movie shown on a camera and you can't get it edited because nobody can fit it in their computer.
Yeah, I've worked with some people that, like, you know, they had 4K cameras, but they didn't want to shoot 4K because it took too long to edit. You know,
and then the lighting, like, it seems like a lot of people really don't use good lighting. You know, whenever they're doing something on a really low budget, they don't think of the lighting. Everyone wants the great camera, but they don't understand there's too many elements involved in film. You know, between the writing, the lighting, the sound, the cinematography. It's good to learn a little thing about all these elements of film, because if you don't learn them, then how do you know when you're doing something wrong on the cinematography end, on the lighting end, on the sound end, or on the writing end? You don't know if you don't learn how it's done or learn maybe the right way of doing. I mean, film is art, so there's kind of no wrong or right way of doing things.
I agree with you
there.
But
still, I think one guy, the very first person that criticized my first short film, when he criticized it, one of the things he said is, how do you put this? Appealing to the eye, because there was some scenes where my lighting wasn't good enough. And he was like, you want to make your scenes appealing to the eye. And I think that's a very important thing that you got to think of when you're watching it, because sometimes if it's too dark, it's not appealing to the eye. You can't see anything, you know, or if there's too many hot spots in your scene, that's not appealing to the eye. And the sounds, sometimes the sounds might not be appealing to the ears. Too much screeching going on. So it's good to learn a lot of the elements of film, like as many as you can. Learn as much as you can about film.
Same thing to say about acting too, really.
Yes.
You know, there's a lot of people that I think they're filmmakers, but they'll take acting classes just to better understand what that's about. And I think that's a good thing.
Yeah. Another one is learning how to accept criticism. You know, like someone say, "So what do you think about my film?" You give them a little criticism on their film, and they'll be, "Well, yeah, I don't exactly agree with you." It's like, wait, you just asked me, "What do I think about your film?" And when I give you my honest opinion, you don't like it, and you don't want to agree with me.
You know what? That's a pet peeve kind of thing of mine, because I understand it, but if you're a professional in an aesthetic kind of, I guess it's like this with anything, but like as a photographer, like whenever I look at my job, and I'm done with it the next day, whenever, I'll tear it apart. Like I want to know what's bad about it. It might be like pretty damn good, but I want to know what's bad that I can improve on next time. And sometimes when you're talking to people and they kind of ask your opinion, or even if they don't ask your opinion, you know, like, well, what do you think of it or whatever? It's like, I immediately go to the bad stuff, in which, you know, that can really depress people. But to me, that's how I function. It's like, yeah, it's good. You know, it's like, it's good, but I guess I should say it's good, but I don't. I usually, okay, there, you could probably, you know what I mean? It's like, you know what you know, but maybe he doesn't know what he doesn't know. Like I'm trying to point out that, okay, the lighting's a little bit weak, you know, the exposure a little bit weak, and I sound like, you know, Downer Debbie. But the
funny thing is, though, you're right on when you're approaching these people's films like that, because you want them to know where they need to improve on their film. But right away, you know, people, they just get pissed, and they're just...
No, it's not even that. It's like they expect, and it's like, I guess everybody's like this to some extent, but when you ask someone your opinion and you like it already, you're expecting praise.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like you want everybody to say that's, you know, like Spielberg couldn't have done better.
Yes.
But in reality, you know, like there's issues, you know, there's always issues. There's always issues.
Yeah.
And like, that's the gold to me. That's where you want, and you're right. Like that's a talent that you have to have. And if you don't have that skill of accepting criticism, you need to develop it, because you're never going to get better without it. You know, you have to be able to say, okay, yeah, the exposure was a little weak. That's why that's why the shadow's a little bit muddy. You know, like next time maybe you should work on that a little bit more or whatever. But you're right. That's something that I wish more people understood, that you have to be able to accept criticism. That's a great point.
Yes. Criticism is huge. One thing, like, these filmmakers need to, this is kind of like my fourth thing, is that these filmmakers need to understand filmmaking is hard work. If you're looking for easy, you're in the wrong place, you know? And it gets tough sometimes. It gets frustrating, especially if you're doing it right. You know, when you're trying to figure out what I'm doing wrong so I can start doing things right, it gets a little tough. And it's hard work. It's a lot of work. If filmmaking is coming too easy for you and you notice you're not getting anywhere, there you go. You know, something is being done wrong, because it's not easy. It's never easy.
That's a great point. There's so many moving parts in filmmaking. You know, there's the lighting, it's like, you know, getting like, you know, you're trying to direct this person, but in the back of your head, you're thinking, oh, craft services isn't here yet with lunch.
Yes.
Or, you know, like there's all that crap going on.
Got to call the pizza delivery fast.
Right. So it's to me, it's on one side, it's fun, but on the other side, it's frustrating, but there's an achievement fun out of that. Like once you get past it and you achieve something really good, that's what makes it gratifying. It's like, I don't know. It can be fun and you can do something really crappy, or it can be fun and gratifying because you're so proud of what you did. But it's not easy. You're right. It's not easy.
It's never easy. So filmmaking is definitely hard work. And a lot of filmmakers need to know that before they get involved with filmmaking. My fifth thing, and this is so frustrating, and I was a part of it. I feel like a lot of newer filmmakers, they're a part of this one thing. Like it's that one pet peeve that when you get to know film, when you start learning how film is done, it's that one pet peeve. Like a lot of us people who've been doing it for a little while have with a lot of the I hate to use the word rookie because sometimes rookie can sound kind of derogatory, but a lot of these newer guys, you have to understand, a Red and an RE camera is not cinematography in a box. There is no instant cinematography. You have to use all the elements of film, the lighting, the camera angles, the sound.
Yeah, too many people emphasize the camera, and it's like...
It has nothing to do with it.
Yeah. It's, like, to me, it almost reminds me of bicycling. Like, are you into bicycling?
I used to have a mountain bike. I used to do trails, yeah.
Okay. Well, with bicycling, if you're buying a bicycle, you could spend, like X number of dollars to get a decent bike.
Yeah, that's funny because I always had the cheap stuff.
Yeah. Well, I spent, it's like I'm buying a bike, I'm kind of building it from scratch, and it's my budget's this, right? You can spend X on a bike, but to get to like a really better bike, to noticeably different, you have to spend 3 times as much.
Oh, they're so expensive, dude.
Yeah, it's like it just to get a little bit better, you have to spend a ton more. And it's kind of like that, when you're a filmmaker, you can use a pretty crappy camera and make a great film.
Oh, yes.
You know what I mean? And the difference between, your Sony and your RE, it's like nobody's going to really notice if the script sucks, and if the acting sucks. I don't care what kind of camera you have.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It just doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So.
And I think that's one of the biggest problems is people get so excited because they have an opportunity to work with a Red or RE and they're just, oh yeah, my film is going to look like a film now. Not exactly. I hope you got everything you need, and there's a lot more when it comes to those high-end cameras that people don't understand. And if they don't know what they're doing, you're going to run into a roadblock very fast.
Yeah. I don't know. This was a long time ago. It'll probably date me, but I was doing a photo shoot I was in Puerto Rico. Okay. Uh-huh. So I'm down there with a food stylist and a food stylist assistant and my assistant, and we're working on this food shoot. It was for Church's Chicken. But anyways, we're down there in this huge facility, and there were, I was doing the stills, and then there was some video people over on the other side of the studio, and they were doing video of kind of the same thing, only a little different. Mm-hmm. But anyways, this was way back when Red was just the new thing.
Yeah, I remember.
When you rented a Red, it came with an operator.
Oh, wow.
Like, you had to rent it from L.A.,
Wow.
We're in Puerto Rico,
awesome.
And they flew the Red in, and they flew an operator with it.
That's how it still should be.
Yeah, I don't know.
It makes sure
people
are on point.
But that was crazy. I couldn't imagine.
I'm joking, of course, but yeah, it's just, and the reason why I made that comment is because, like I said, you put Red in some of these people's hands, and they have no idea. Like, they just don't even know.
Yeah. But then again, in the right hands,
it's a great camera in the right hands.
It can improve your video a bit.
Yes.
Like not at night and day, but a bit.
Yeah, in the right hands, of course.
You have to have all those other ducks in a row at that same time.
Yes. Lighting is a big thing.
Yeah. I'm big on lighting. Yes. Like I love lighting. So like I don't know how I got into the sound thing. It was sort of like a diversion, and like But I want to do, I think I want to try to do more lighting and sound. But
Yes.
if I do that for people, I almost need a PA, somebody to help me with the legwork because, I'm walking around with that sound bag and I go to like tweak that light. And it's like I'm bumping stuff over, it's like crazy.
Well, that's the funny thing that you mentioned that about film, because, I mean, on one of my sets, I mean, if you didn't like walk a trail, it was tough to get out of that room because you had your sound guy, you had the lighting. I mean, once you have a C-stand here or the camera there, and you got to kind of juke and dodge and make sure you don't start knocking stuff over because equipment is expensive,
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank God there wasn't a red in the room.
Yeah, really, really. Okay, Cliff, I really appreciate you coming in here today, and
I appreciate you inviting me, man. This was fun.
and I'll post your headshot on the film.
Don't do that. It's scary, man.
Oh no, man, you are scary looking, but we got some good ones. Okay, well, thank you very much. And wait a second before we say goodbye. How do people find you if they need you?
Well, if you need me, you can. There's a few ways you can find me. I do have a YouTube channel. It's Hanger's House. That's my Instagram also. You can find me there. Hanger House. There's not an S after Hangers. It's Hanger House. So that's pretty much how they can find me between my YouTube and my Instagram.
Okay, what's your next film coming out?
I have a film that I'm trying to circulate in festivals called Return to Him. That's a pretty good film. It's starring Christina Shikis and Brian Saponis. So keep an eye out.
That's one I helped you with, right? I worked on that too.
I don't remember you being on set, man.
What's the
You're making this up. No, I'm joking.
What's the name of the film where Charlie was in it with the one eye thing and like he had a hole in his head? What was that film?
That's this film.
That is, okay.
Yes,
See, I worked on that.
yes.
I mean,
Yeah. I'm messing with you, Michael.
If you have good sound, I worked on it.
Yes,
But-
the sound, actually, I have to say this film was the best sound I've had with short films.
You know what? I'm going to give you your $5 walking out the door just to promote me like that. I appreciate it. But
No, I'm being
that was a good
completely
film.
honest.
I really like
Yes,
that. I like that
yes.
film
So
a lot.
once I get it circulated in festivals, I can see some good things coming out of it.
Yeah, a lot of things about that film cracked me up. It was fun. I appreciate it.
Got a little bit of that dark comedy in there, man.
Yeah, well, it was more like behind the scenes stuff that went on. But
Oh, it was hilarious. That one dining room scene, where where they were drinking the wine.
yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
We like behind the scenes, dude. We could not stop laughing.
Yeah, that was a good.
It was
time.
great. It was a good time. We just sat there and kept laughing and laughing.
I do have a
and
good time when I work with you, so keep inviting me
Yeah.
back. I appreciate
Definitely,
it.
I enjoy working with you. You're very good at your craft between the lighting, because I had some scenes that without you there, I don't know how the hell I was going to like those scenes. Seriously, you really gave me exactly what I wanted in a lot of those scenes. Unfortunately, I was not able to have you the whole time. And maybe my next film, at least 90% of the time, you will be helping me light the film. And I think if it's going to be the Dark Hole feature film that me and Christina is working on, or another film in the future, because the Dark Hole, lighting is very important in that film. Very, very important.
One thing that I've never done lighting wise is outdoors. I don't know if I'd be good at that. It
That's
would take
tough.
me some- yeah.
That's tough.
Yeah.
That's a special little thing. Certain
Okay.
thing.
Well, thanks again for coming. And
Thank you for inviting me.
Since you plugged me so well, I'll give you $10 walking out the door. Okay. Thanks again, and we'll see you on the next film.
All right. Thank you.